The storm outside had only just begun when the real storm inside the restaurant broke loose. It started with the soft clatter of silverware, the kind you normally wouldn't notice, until it came from a table where silence felt too heavy to ignore. A little girl in a faded pink jacket sat with her mother, their plates nearly empty except for a half-eaten slice of bread that the mom kept pushing toward the child, pretending she wasn't hungry. At the next table, wrapped in warm light and luxury, sat a man in a tailored suit and his daughter, her golden curls glowing like a halo as she took in the scene. Then, in a voice both innocent and brave, she tugged at her father's sleeve and whispered the question that would unravel everything he thought he knew about generosity, pride, and love. "Dad, can I share with them?" Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to life. The wealthy man, Ethan Caldwell, had built his empire on discipline and cold calculations. Numbers, deals, and decisions made him who he was. But nothing, no business achievement, no prestigious award, prepared him for the quiet plea in his daughter's eyes. Lily had a way of seeing people not as obstacles or statistics, but as souls. She could sense sadness the way others sensed cold. And right then, she felt the kind of sadness no child should ever have to witness, a mother forcing a smile she didn't have the energy to wear anymore, a child pretending not to notice. The restaurant's warm glow contrasted sharply with the icy rain tapping at the windows. Ethan wanted, instinctively, to say no. Not because he lacked compassion, but because kindness wasn't something he was accustomed to performing publicly. His life had been structured, controlled, and predictable. Acts of charity, when he did them, were neatly packaged through organizations, not through his daughter's spontaneous heart. But Lily didn't look away. She kept watching the little girl, whose hands were tucked into her sleeves to stay warm, whose tiny shoulders sagged even though she tried to sit up straight for her mother's sake. And across from her, the single mom gently patted her daughter's hair, whispering something soft enough that only the child could hear. A smile formed on the girl's lips, but it was fragile, like glass. Ethan swallowed, feeling a knot form at the base of his throat. Here in this upscale restaurant, where people prided themselves on comfort and perfection, this single mother looked like she had stepped into the wrong world, driven there perhaps by hope, or by a moment of wanting to give her child something special despite their circumstances. He nodded. Lily's face lit up, and she carefully slid half of her meal onto a clean plate. But it wasn't just food she was offering, it was dignity. She chose the best parts, the perfectly cut chicken, the softest piece of bread, the cup of fruit she hadn't touched. She carried it in her tiny hands, walking slowly as if holding something sacred. As she approached the table, the single mom looked up in surprise, her eyes widening with a blend of confusion and exhaustion. The mother tried to politely refuse, shaking her head with a trembling smile. But Lily spoke softly, words that seemed too profound for her age, and the woman's resistance broke. Her eyes welled as she accepted the plate, her silent gratitude more powerful than any speech. Ethan watched it unfold, feeling something shift inside him. A gentle cracking, like ice thawing. He wasn't a cruel man. Just distant. Focused. Efficient. His wealth had shielded him from seeing certain kinds of pain, the kind that hides behind polite smiles and forced confidence. But seeing Lily give freely, purely, without hesitation or judgment, he felt something he hadn't felt since his wife passed away, the warmth of being human. The mother whispered a thank you, her voice fragile, and the little girl with her began eating with the kind of hungry restraint that tore at Ethan's heart. Not wild hunger, but hunger learned from too many days of making food stretch longer than it should. Lily sat back down with a quiet satisfaction that seemed to brighten the room more than any chandelier. Ethan couldn't stop staring at the woman. Her clothes were simple but clean. Her hair, though damp from the rain, had clearly been brushed with care. There was a dignity about her, even in her hardship, a strength that reminded him of his late wife, Emily, who had been the true heart of their family before illness stole her away. As the minutes passed, the storm outside grew fiercer, and the restaurant began to empty. People hurried out into the rain with umbrellas and warm coats, eager to return to safe homes. But the single mom remained seated, as though dreading the moment she and her daughter would have to step back into the harsh world waiting just beyond the glass doors. Ethan saw the way she glanced at a crumpled bag on the floor, the only bag she carried. A life condensed into thin fabric. He excused himself from the table and approached her gently, unsure of how to begin. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable, didn't want to seem intrusive or condescending. He simply wanted to help. He asked if she was all right, but it wasn't the question that mattered, it was the sincerity behind it. The mother hesitated, her pride wrestling with her exhaustion. She insisted they were fine, that they would manage. But suddenly her shoulders shook, and tears slipped down her cheeks. She apologized, but Ethan shook his head gently. She confessed she had lost her job 2 months earlier after missing too many shifts while caring for a daughter, who had been sick. She had been applying everywhere, doing temporary work when she could find it, but rent was overdue, and her savings had evaporated long ago. The only reason they were eating at the restaurant tonight was because it was the daughter's birthday. She had promised her something special, even if all she could afford was water and a small appetizer they'd shared. She couldn't bear to disappoint her child. Not today. Not again. Ethan felt a heaviness in his chest. He thought of his own daughter, of the nights Emily used to whisper to him about wanting Lily to grow up with kindness, not entitlement. She had always taught Lily that wealth meant responsibility, not superiority. And now, seeing Lily's empathetic nature bloom, he felt both proud and painfully humbled. He invited the mother and daughter to join their table. She refused at first, shaking her head, embarrassed, overwhelmed. But Lily scooted over, patting the seat beside her with an innocent insistence no one could resist. The little girl joined them, shy at first, but slowly warming as Lily began sharing stories about school, about their dog, about little things that made the other child smile through tears. The single mother, watching her daughter finally relax, finally laugh, finally eat without worry, she broke down in silent gratitude. By the end of the night, Ethan made a decision he didn't announce with grandeur or pride. He simply wrote something on a small card and slid it toward her. A phone number. A job offer. A chance. He explained that he believed in people who fought for their children the way she did. His company had an opening that matched her skills, and he wanted her to come in on Monday. She covered her mouth to keep the sob from escaping too loudly. Lily looked between them, confused but hopeful. The mother accepted the card with trembling hands, holding it as if it were the most fragile and precious thing she had ever been given. As they walked out together, the storm outside seemed gentler, as though the world itself acknowledged the shift that had taken place inside the restaurant. It wasn't just the single mom's life that had changed that night, it was Ethan's. He realized how easy it is to overlook quiet suffering, how blind routine can make a person, and how the smallest act of compassion from a child could stir a ripple large enough to change lives. The next weeks brought a transformation no one could have scripted better. The mother started her new job, nervous, determined, grateful beyond words. She proved to be hardworking and talented, quickly becoming someone the company relied on. Her daughter blossomed too, relieved of the constant worry children should never have to carry. And Lily and her became best friends, inseparable in a way that made Ethan's heart swell. Ethan found himself looking forward to seeing the mother each day, admiring her strength, her resilience. And though he didn't rush anything, though he respected her space and healing, there was a gentle shift in the air each time they spoke, something warm, something hopeful. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world and helps us continue telling meaningful stories like this.